Okay, so when you're building a business though, or you're trying to do anything, but let's talk about business since that's what we do. How do you have fun when you're losing?
That's the tricky part, right?
Yeah, like when life's kicking your butt, business kicking your butt, everything's going wrong. Mm-hmm. Then what? How do you have fun then? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
We had everything going against us.
Yeah, we were young. We were broke. We didn't know anything about business. We literally started from nothing.
We were never supposed to make it.
Perspective. Let's talk about perspective.
Okay.
So first off, I'd like to just say that I don't really think of setbacks as losses. I think it's part of the process. When you're trying to get better at anything, when you're trying to succeed at anything, you already have to understand that it's not going to be a straight line from one point to the other.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Because if you look, okay, so for example, I just had this image pop in my head, right? So if I was to I don't have a pen and paper, otherwise I draw it. But if you were to look at a graph, like on a stock, for example.
Yes.
And you watch a stock and you zoom in to like a year or 6 months, you see all these ups and downs, right? Mm-hmm. Where if you zoom out 10 years, it's literally it looks like a straight, consistent line up, for a growing company.
Yeah.
So the point is perspective, right? Is that if we're looking at right now, I'm getting destroyed. But if I was to zoom out and look at the big picture and then continue this journey for the next 5-10 years, I mean, it's a very upward trajectory.
So basically you're saying if you're in business, you should focus on the long-term goal because then the short-term mishaps won't matter as much. Like in the grand scheme of things, is it really going to matter?
No, it's all part of the journey. And it's not a lot of times we think, oh, I'm losing. Maybe we don't say that, but like athletes, that's what they say in their head. I'm losing,
right.
I'm behind, right? It's not a loss. It's part of the journey. There are ups and downs to everything. The downs are what make the ups. Mm-hmm. And so there's an up and there's a down in every process, right? I gain a pound, but then I lost 2, but then I gained 1 back, but then I lost that 1 back. Then I gained 2, but now I lost 3. There's an up and down to everything. Nothing, like you said, is linear and perfect.
Right.
The problem is how we look at it.
Yeah. We go through life because life is like that. We go through life knowing that there's ups and downs, that we're going to have our bad days, we're going to have our good days. But then when we talk about business, we expect it to go perfectly.
Right.
Or we strive for perfection when literally our everyday life is not like that.
And that's the problem, is that what creates discouragement and frustration is I have this image of how it's supposed to be, and that's not how it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so if we could change that, right, to a growth mentality, our perspective shifts. Or I start to look at, I'm not in business for tomorrow anyway. Mm-hmm. And so what if that client canceled? Like another thing is like we count it as a loss. So a client cancels or a client decides they don't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. They said they were going to be my client and then they changed their mind. And then we have this feeling of loss when the reality is we didn't lose anything.
Yeah.
It's all perspective again, is you can't lose something you never had.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. A teammate quits. So what? Like that one teammate wasn't going to be the last one I needed anyways. That was not the final piece to the puzzle. So it's all perspective. It's how you look at it.
Yep. In my mind, if a client decides, hey, I don't want to be a client, especially if it's in the beginning, because, you get really excited. To me, it's like, okay, I'd rather them make that decision right now versus in 6 months. If they're going to come to that realization, I want them to come to that realization immediately and not in 6 months. So I think it's only a loss if you don't get anything good out of it.
Right. So let's title this episode then, How to Have Fun While You Lose.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So we'll play on the term loss because people feel like they're losing. But remember, even while you're losing, right, which is really learning, you could still have fun, right? So I would say number 1 then, how to have fun while you lose. number one would be to shift your perspective. These are not losses; these are lessons, and also give yourself permission for things to not always be perfect.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're gonna lose.
Yeah. Sometimes it's gonna suck. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
Yeah.
number one. Then let's make that number one, perspective. Number two, how to have fun when you lose. I think we could learn from everything and make our losses, like you said earlier, make your losses worth it. What did you mean by that?
I mean that I think my ultimate goal in everyday life is I just need to grow. For me, if I'm growing, I'm happy. And obviously things are going to go right all the time, every day. But if I just use those setbacks to make me better, I learned something from it. Maybe, I was doing something before that wasn't serving me. So, for example, if you say something wrong on a client appointment, right? You realize it and you go, shoot, next time I'm not going to say that. I'm going to use the correct wording or the correct terminology. You just allow it to make you better versus sitting there and focusing on what you did wrong.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I remember being on an appointment and a client asked me a question. I don't remember what it was now. It was 10 years ago. And I didn't know the answer. And I was like, damn. And then that was the reason I didn't close, was I didn't know the answer. And I said, well, let me get the answer and I'll come back to you. And, I got the answer and I came back and I don't remember if they became a client or not. But I remember thinking in my head, this will never happen again. No one will ever ask me that question again and me not know the answer. And then it never happened again. Yeah. But then they asked me another one I didn't know the answer to, somebody else, and I'm like, all right, that's never going to happen again. I did that 100 times, and now that never happens. I don't get asked questions I don't know the answers to anymore. And so what's funny is that now I think people are so scared of like doing something wrong in a lot of cases, they miss all the opportunity for growth because we literally sit down and look for areas we're losing. Or you know what I mean? Where before people would run, when you're new, you run from it. You're like, I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose. I can't lose. Everything has to go perfect. Everyone has to say yes. We literally sit down now. We're like, okay, where do we suck? We have to suck somewhere.
Yeah.
There must be
what can
somewhere.
we make better?
Where could we improve? There has to be something. And so I think it was a really good point to make your losses worth it, right? A loss in a lot of cases is it's an identifier for an area that you could improve that'll make you better, that will make you more money, that will make you happier, that will make you more fit, that will make you healthier, whatever it is. Losses are like really, really good things to build on.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do that, have that mentality towards things like that are kind of scary, like public speaking. They'll go and they'll do a presentation and they'll, in their mind, completely blow it. They stuttered, they were nervous, they forgot what they were supposed to say. And so they'll come off of that and go, I'm a terrible public speaker. I'm never going to speak again. This is not for me. And they'll just shy away from any of those opportunities versus, okay, maybe I just needed to be more prepared. Maybe I, needed to do more research, or I needed to practice before I did this presentation. Whatever it is, it's all in your perspective, and it's all how you choose to look at it.
Some of our losses have brought us the biggest changes, which have brought us the biggest wins in our entire business.
Yeah, a loss doesn't mean that you're going in the wrong direction.
No, it's probably some of the best thing. I wish we would lose more. If we lost some more, no, here's why. If we lost some more, we'd grow faster. Okay. Right? If I had areas that popped up where it's like, hey, we could fix that. Oh, we could fix that. Well, we could make that better. So it's making your losses worth is a big one, especially in the beginning when you're losing. Man, freaking write those things down. Find the blessing in them of what you could change and grow. Let's talk about another one. What's another one? What's number 3? Number 3, we wrote them down. How to have fun when you're losing. How to have fun while you lose. Celebrate. So many people belittle. It's amazing to me. They literally belittle their own victories.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, it's not that great.
Or so-and-so, did this. Or I should have done this a long time ago.
Oh, my gosh. And you like this, you've been working for the win.
Yeah.
And then you get the win and you're like, whoa, but I didn't hit it that way. I should have hit it a different way. I should have done that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you expend so little energy celebrating your wins, but if you lost on that same thing you were doing, you would have like destroyed yourself mentally.
Yeah. Someone, for example, barely hits their promotion in business. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh man, but I barely hit it.
Yeah, or it took me too long.
But if they would have missed it, it would have been like catastrophic and they would have quit.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, celebrate your freaking wins.
Yeah.
Like every little win should be celebrated like a big win, because little wins 100 times, I mean, that's a huge win. Mm-hmm. It's a huge win, and it's a huge change in business. And I think we used to do that to an extent, where it was very hard for us to celebrate. We're like, yeah, we could have done better though. Mm-hmm. I know I could have done better.
Yeah, and we'd almost get, we'd get frustrated with ourselves and be like, okay, we need to get back to work. We need to, work 10 times as hard, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but we were just not stopping and enjoying the process. We were not celebrating anything.
Yeah, the blessing. That was the blessing.
We'd
get the blessing, and then we'd be like, well, we could have done it better. Mm-hmm. We could have done it better. We could have done more. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then Dan, our coach would be like, yo, y'all need to learn how to like have fun and be proud of yourselves. And so now we freaking celebrate everything. Mm-hmm. Every little thing. I'm like, boom, we freaking killed it.
Yeah.
Every single time. So that's a really big one. If you're trying to have fun while you're losing, meaning that you're not where you want to be yet, but you have to have fun to stay in the game, right? Because if it's just draining, you're not going to do it. You got to celebrate every little thing. Every little thing. A client that said yes, a client that confirmed, a client that, a teammate that started, a teammate that quit that you didn't like anyways. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. You got to find ways to celebrate.
Oh, yeah. Because you're building your confidence in yourself by celebrating those wins. And then when you have setbacks, then you're going to remember, okay, but I win too. And those are right around the corner. So I just got to keep pushing forward.
And rewarding yourself. Remember, we used to do, how much was it we take? 2%?
2%? Yeah.
2%. We used to take 2% of our income.
No, of our savings, I think.
Oh, no, it wasn't even our income. It was 2% of our savings. So if we made 10 grand and we took 2,000 and put it in savings, then we would each get 2% of that 2,000 to go like splurge. Wow, that's crazy. Because I don't remember how much 2% of 2,000. It's not very much.
It's not very much at all.
And we weren't putting 2,000 in savings either.
Oh, yeah. 400. See, 400 is like...
Oh, all right. Never mind. We should go back to that. Yeah. That would be nice. Yeah. But you see what 2%. I mean? Little
40? Never mind.
$40. I knew it. He freaking lied to me. 400 was 20%.
Maybe it wasn't 2%.
It was 2.
It was
no,
2%?
It was 3. It was 3. Okay. So it was $60, and we weren't putting $2,000 in savings either because we were like struggling back then.
Yeah.
So you see what I mean, though? You find ways to reward yourself. Pain and pleasure, right? Mm-hmm. If I don't hit my goals, I'm gonna punish myself some way that's beneficial and productive, not
not
unhealthy.
Demeaning, yeah.
And if I hit my goals, I'm going to go celebrate with a
latte.
2%. An ice cream cone from McDonald's. Fired up. All right, number 4. This is one I will always remember because I was like 10 years old and I was outside in the front yard. Mm-hmm. And I was playing basketball with my dad. And and I was doing what every little kid does. 5, 4. I'm like, Dad, count. Dang it, why don't you count? He's like, okay, start 5, 4, 3, and I'm dribbling, and Kobe steps back, 2, 1 at the buzzer, brick, and then somehow there was more time on the clock, 5, 4, and then somehow there was more time on the clock, 5, and I finally make it, and I was like so freaking proud of myself. I was fired up. My dad would go, and he's his own biggest fan. I still remember that. That'll make a good teaser clip. But I literally still remember that to this day. My dad said that, and hey, I've been my own biggest fan my whole freaking life.
It's true.
In a good way.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second, because the opposite of that would be that you don't believe in you and you're not proud of you.
Your own worst enemy.
And you're your own worst, like
biggest critic.
No one F's your mind more than you.
Yeah.
So what do we mean by be your own biggest fan, and what does that look like, and how could someone apply that?
So it's basically changing every negative to something positive. And it takes practice in the beginning. And it takes a very self-aware mind to stop those. Because sometimes those thoughts come in like freaking bullet, to just speed right into your head. And stopping and going, okay, wait, that's not true. I learned a lot from this situation. And so that's going to make me better. It's actually a good thing. And it's just doing that over and over again until that's your default. Because right now your default is just to, beat the crap out of yourself.
And it's crazy, but people do that.
Yeah.
Constantly. And it also back to like belittling their wins. It's another area where people do that, is that they're getting victories and things are going well. And then they don't, whether you're winning or not, you got to know it's not a question of whether I'm going to win. Mm-hmm. The game's not over. I'm just not there yet.
Yeah.
And the most confident people, the people that can do that, sometimes people go, well, they're arrogant, but no, this someone, they cheer for themselves.
Yeah.
I don't need somebody else to cheer for me type of thing. Last one, how to win or how to have fun, I should say, while you lose. Mm-hmm. Remember, we don't say lose as in you're losing, right?
Right.
But that's what people usually say, right? Yeah. If they're not winning, they're losing.
So after this, don't use the word lose anymore.
Right. At least use it in a positive way.
Right.
So how do you have fun while you lose? How do you have fun while you grow? How do you have fun while you're learning, right? Because learning is frustrating, but it could be fun too. But there's a lot of lessons in that. I think it's kind of cheesy, and everyone says it, but it's still true, is remembering the big picture, mm-hmm. Where if I zoom out and I could push fast forward. The problem is that we can't just push fast forward on our life, right? Mm-hmm. Or just imagine if someone could sit there and be like, all right, we could take one of our teammates and be like, listen, I get it. You're frustrated, client canceled, you're buried in chargebacks, you still got a job, now you're pregnant and you're going to have a kid, you're trying to do it all at once, you're frustrated. But watch, boom, fast forward 12 months, look where you're at.
Yeah.
And they could be like, oh my gosh.
That'd be cool.
Right now they'd come back and be like, okay, fire it up, let's go to work, because they know what's there. So I think part of winning and part of having fun, even while you're in the process of trying to get to the point where you're winning, is knowing, although I cannot push fast forward, I have zero doubt in my mind that it's there. Mm-hmm. So I just got to act in faith and continue to work and get there.
You're not there now, but you will get there.
Right.
That's that faith, like you said, it's that hope, it's that light.
Right.
And, I always believe that there's hope. Yeah.
And it's, if I do these things every day, we choose our habits, but then our habits decide our life. Mm-hmm. So we get to choose every day. I'm going to do these 5 things. Every day I'm going to apply these 5 principles. Every day I'm going to knock off these 5 important tasks, whatever it is. And you could know with confidence in 6 months, this is going to be where I'm at. Like there's zero doubt in my mind. But the problem is if we wake up every day and our habits are not suitable to get us to that thing we'd be excited about if we could push fast forward, then we're in trouble. Mm-hmm. Because then winning's not inevitable.
Yeah. So, what you're doing now is helping the process because you're working on yourself and you're trying to learn. So you're already on the right track.
Yeah. And we're done.
Yeah.
But you guys, thank you for all the shares, all the responses, those of you guys who reshare, our teaser clips and stuff when we put them out. It's stuff, it's fun. It makes it fun for us. It's rewarding for us. We love hearing your feedback and people that say, hey man, that episode was exactly what I needed. Or you share it with your teammates and it's helping your team win. That stuff's a lot of fun.
Just cool to know that people are actually watching it and that
they
like it. Because otherwise, we do enjoy doing this, but we want to help people.
Yeah, that's really what it is. I remember being hungry and driven, but not really knowing what to do, and trying to figure it out. And so You know, and that's the reason why we do the show, because there are a lot of you guys out there that's where you're at. You're hungry, you're driven, and you're trying to make something happen. You just don't really know what to do. So hopefully it could be be of assistance and win anyway. All right, you guys, we're officially on all platforms. You probably saw that on our Instagram, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Go ahead. Drop your chair 2 inches.
Me?
Yeah. That's perfect.
A little more?
That's good. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Oh no, that's yeah, that's good.
Nice.